Hooky is a classic. This is the episode where Patrick takes Spongebob to the carnival, which turns out to be a prime fishing spot for humans up above. The two have fun going up and down on the hooks until Mr. Krabs warns them of the danger of this hooky game. Spongebob tries to do the right thing, but the temptation is too strong, and he gets hooked. This episode serves as the first part of the 20th episode of SpongeBob's first season. The title of the episode, Hooky, has a double meaning. Of course, it's mainly referring to the hooks that Sponge and Pat end up playing on. But hooky is also another word for truancy, aka goofing off, failing to attend, something which SpongeBob is also doing in this episode. You clever dogs, you. Before I officially go into the episode, let's just take a quick look at the title card without the text on it. It's quite atypical for a SpongeBob episode. Usually it's just like an abstract painted background with a bunch of colors, but this one is very different. It's kinda threatening too. The first shot of this episode is a very strange one. It's the usual establishing shot of the little island that we're used to, but it's surrounded by real life pictures of fishermen. I insist that you watch this all on a HD monitor because the fishermen, they almost look like low poly 3D models. It's really strange. They have that weird quality to their movement where there's no anti-aliasing or anything to smooth out the edges. The episode of course begins proper with Krabs bursting into the Krusty Krab, exclaiming that the hooks are here. I love when Krabs' eyes are sort of crazy and start going in and out of their sockets. Krabs actually do this in real life. Steven Hillenburg, it should be noted, used to teach marine biology. I mean, in this one shot you get so many good drawings of Krabs. I'm a big fan of where he's just got these two little eyeballs. It looks so wrong. Krabs' eyes, along with his pupils, also go really big when he's talking to Squid here, which I think looks really cute. Squid does not give a damn. Also, has that clock above the Krusty Krab's entrance always been there? I've never noticed that in my life, I gotta be honest. Look in the back of this shot, showing the paying customers of the Krusty Krab trying to enjoy their meal. Specifically, the cute couple, both drinking from the same beverage. How sweet is that? This frame of Krabs screaming at incidental number 1 is often used for memes online, and it's no surprise why. He just looks so intrusive and loud. And this in-between of Krabs right after his screaming is adorable. Just look at him. Okay, what is going on here? Is that a window on a window? I like when Squid is making an excuse to not talk to Krabs. You can actually see that he's looking down to try and find things before he settles on the trash can to put on his head. It's the little things. Look in the back of this shot. Why is this guy drinking his soda so nervously in the background? That's my favorite SpongeBob incidental, number 40. Although he's naked here. Usually when he appears he's wearing some sort of outfit, but not here. And this reminds me of something that I always think about with the SpongeBob background incidentals. Isn't it weird that some of them just don't wear clothes? Like most do. But for some, it's not necessary. I mean, what are the rules? Just look at incidental number 1 in the back. He's wearing just trousers. What are the rules? Anyway, what a great drawing of our pal Sponge. He looks so happy. I also like this little look on his face when Krabs is about to educate him about the hooks. When Krabs does this, the animator's putting Krabs sliding behind SpongeBob to his other side, which may seem unnecessary, but it's so that he's behind Sponge when he dangles his crab claw like a hook in front of him. It's a much smoother way of getting from this shot to this shot, and it makes everything feel more lively. I love this frame of a fish getting his shorts hooked up by Krabs, and the way that his drink crumples up with each time Krabs tightens his grip. Also, the fact that Mr. Krabs doesn't even look at this guy while he non-consensually gives him the biggest wedgie ever, it is beyond disrespectful. We get a very rare look at the rooftop hatch at the top of the Krusty Krab here, perfect for pointing out that beautiful Bikini Bottom skyline. Since they're looking straight up here, we can see the light of the sun coming through the water, something you don't typically get to see. I'm a big fan of how this looks. It makes the world feel so much bigger. I also like this rather ominous shot of Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob's point of view. Krabs tells Sponge if he plays on the hooks and gets taken to the surface, they'll be cooked. and eaten. I mean, maybe for you crabs, but I don't think anyone's after deep-fried sea sponge. I looked it up and it doesn't seem to be a delicacy. He also says that they can end up in gift shops, which can serve as an ominous prediction of what happens in the Spongebob movie. When Krabs says this, he has this horrified blank stare on his face, and it just sells how much he really fears this. Sponge is so scared that he hides in this little box, and I love when Sponge is really malleable and can change his size and shape a little, and the fact that he's the only one who really does this often makes it feel like it's his own little ability. But Krabs assures him it's gonna all be okay as long as he doesn't go on the hooks, and Sponge makes his way back to the kitchen. I like this shot because we can see that Squid still has the trash can on his head, and also we see Incidental 41 looking very confused as Bob shuffles across the floor. He then looks back to the camera with a really freaky expression on his face. But even freakier is that this scene ends with a standard screen wipe transition, as opposed to the bubble transition that you most often associate with SpongeBob. This probably happens more often than I think in the show, but this is the first time where I've really noticed it, and it feels so weird. We get our first appearance of Patrick, and I just love how he's drawn in Season 1. He has that perfect, dopey, and lovable look to him. I just want to give him a hug. And for fairness' sake, here's an in-between of him looking disgusting. Patrick wants to go to the carnival, but Sponge can't go, he's gotta work. I love his little concentrating face here, with his tongue sticking out. It's so sweet. Sponge and Pat end up going anyway, and I love Patrick's little goofy walk when they're en route to the hooks. Like, I really wish I knew what storyboarders were thinking for moments like this. They were just like, this shot's kinda boring. Let's give Patrick a stupid goofy walk. I would love to own one of the animation cells for this shot specifically. We now get the titular hooks. I think that the set piece of these big hooks, along with the fishing lures, is a really cool visual, and it really sticks in your head. This is one of the episodes that I most often think about, not even just when the first season is being discussed, but the whole show. I love all of the different designs for the fishing lures. They're all really colorful with distinct shapes and designs, but they don't feel too wacky to the point that they're distracting. This set piece also provides the opportunity for some interesting camera angles, including the one here from above. I also like how the hooks are surrounded by a circular rock formation, almost like a little arena, which makes you understand why Patrick would describe it as a carnival earlier. This particular background was painted by Peter Bennett, and it looks great. I like knowing who to credit with these, because the artists deserve all the praise. But the visuals also set up the danger of the hooks. Sponge and Pat can't see it, but we are shown a pair of shoes laying on the ground all messy, implying that someone's already been caught and stolen by one of the hooks. It's kinda messed up, really. Look at this frame of Patrick sitting his fat ass on the hook. I always found it really strange that one of the fishermen is using what must be a miniature block of cheese on a fishing lure. As a kid, I was like, what the cheese? And I chalked this up to just being some good old-fashioned silly cartoon logic. The same way that the residents of Bikini Bottom just somehow eat hamburgers, or why the paper they use doesn't just dissolve. But to my shock and horror, cheese is actually used as a fishing lure sometimes. You really do learn something new every day. On the subject of this block of cheese, I love the way they drew it. Bright orange, in a perfect cube. It always looks so tasty to me. And the way Patrick enjoyed it made it all the more desirable. This scenario is very reminiscent of this doodle that I found, which was made during the production of the episode. I really like how this looks, but I don't know who actually drew it. I'm thinking that it was Steven Hillenburg, because it does resemble a lot of his drawings from before the show was greenlit. It has those really wacky proportions that I associate with his drawings then. As I said though, if you have any more information that I don't, then do let me know. This drawing of Patrick with all the hooks in his mouth when he says, "Does this look dangerous?" is hilarious. Like, what the hell? It's not violent or anything, but it feels so extreme. Apparently, I'm not alone in thinking that, as in the UK and Ireland, it is apparently not included in the episode. But when I read this bit of trivia, I was actually really confused. I have definitely seen this episode when I watched it as a kid. I distinctly remember that drawing and thinking it was so funny. It had to have been in the episode, otherwise it wouldn't be so familiar to me. If you're from the UK or Ireland, Comment if you remember seeing this on the TV broadcast, cause I don't know how much I trust this factoid. I'm on to you, Spongebob Wiki. This episode was storyboarded by Vincent Waller, and the storyboard director was Sham Cohen. Waller once recalled how when he showed this drawing of Patrick to Cohen, he laughed so hard that he nearly fell out of his chair. What a wholesome moment. Of course, Patrick gets swept up by the hook, and though it already looks pretty dramatic in the episode, just look at the storyboard pencil drawing. I can't lie, it looks really epic. It's like the stormy clouds are parting and he's being pulled up to heaven. SpongeBob screams, and I really like how he's drawn here, and so did the video game developers' vicarious visions, because a digitized version of this exact drawing can be found in the Game Boy Color game Legend of the Lost Spatula. When you try to play this Game Boy Color exclusive on a regular Game Boy, then you will be told, "This game can only be played on Game Boy Color!" accompanied by the aforementioned drawing of Sponge looking shocked. Why did they have to pick such a concerning drawing? If I had this game and saw this screen, I'd have thought I did something terribly wrong. Anyway, Sponge starts running in circles in a panic, and you get some great drawings here, especially this one where his pupils are gone all big. All this screaming was for nothing though, as Patrick descends down using the shorts as a parachute. I always loved how this looked. Patrick convinces Sponge to get on a hook, and I understand that this isn't animation, so don't shoot, but this episode notably utilizes live action footage, specifically for the two fishermen that are having no luck catching SpongeBob or Patrick. I always assumed that this was filmed by Steven Hillenburg or like some other crew member, just on a random fishing trip or something, but this is quite literally ripped directly from the 1991 TV series Fishing with John, hosted by jazz musician, artist, and I guess fisherman, John Laurie. The clips in question are taken from the first episode featuring John Laurie and film director Jim Jarmusch, which is why they are both credited at the start of the episode as guest stars, despite it just being archived footage. Fishing with John only had 6 episodes, but it had some pretty high-profile guests: Tom Waits, Dennis Hopper, Matt Dillon, and Willem Dafoe. Now when I saw that last name, everything fell into place for me. I have previously watched Fishing with John. I remember randomly watching the entire Willem Dafoe episode before without even realizing that this is the same show used in Hooky. I love when everything comes together. That being said, I always thought this was very cool as a kid. Seeing interplay between our world and SpongeBob's was a very fun thing to think about. Sponge and Pat jump off the hook before it surfaces. Pat does a standard dive downwards, and SpongeBob does a little cannonball jump. He even grabs his nose like you might if you were jumping into a pool. This little detail is on screen for such a short time, like maybe half a second, meaning that I've never noticed this at all. Now here is a very weird shot. SpongeBob and Patrick are descending down from the top of the ocean, and they're having a great time. But look at them. The drawings look strange and jagged, like they've been digitized. Obviously, SpongeBob's first season was done on cell animation, so you do have to wonder why they look like this. And just for the one shot, my best guess is it's something to do with the flowing water effect that you can see at the top. This obviously isn't part of the animation cell or the painted background, and must have been edited in digitally. However, they needed Sponge and Pat to be descending down from it, so they likely painted the cells and then digitally put them into whatever editing software they used. They may have also digitally shrunk those cell drawings of Pat and Sponge as they float down as well. Like when they're way up high, they look a little smushed, like they've been scaled down a bit. What results is a shot that you really wouldn't bat an eye at on a blurry CRT display from 2000, but when put on a HD monitor, you notice all those little details. I think I speak for everyone when I say, bring back the fat tubes. Wow, what a vibrant painting of the Krusty Krab. And whilst we're here, let's talk about those flags. What are the flags in front of the Krusty Krab, and what do they mean? They're consistent across just about all of its appearances, so surely they must mean something. These are nautical flags used on ships to convey messages to other vessels. Generally, each flag has a corresponding letter and a direct meaning as part of the International Code of Signals. Now, I'm no expert on the International Code of Signals, but after about 2 minutes of research, I think I've figured it out. We have Kilo, which means I wish to communicate with you, Uniform, which means you're running into danger, though it should be noted that this flag we see on the Krusty Krab is not actually the same as the uniform flag in the International Code of Signals. It's the wrong way around, so Let's put an asterisk next to that one. Romeo, which doesn't have a meaning as a single flag, but apparently it used to mean, the way is off my ship, you may feel your way past me. And India, which means, I'm altering my course to port. This one in the middle does not mean anything. The only thing it really does resemble is the flag of Zurich. So, don't really know what's going on there. So yeah, unless this is some secret code, these flags don't really mean anything. Seems like a bit of a wasted opportunity, but at the same time, I'm just always happy to see some maritime stuff in the show. With Sponge away from the Krusty Krab, Squid is left to fend for himself. Of course, this is the episode with, "My sandwich is a fried boot." I love the way they've drawn this because, like, it's the same color and texture of the Krabby Patties that we see in the burgers, so what the hell is going on? Is it actually a fried boot? Wouldn't it look a little different? It looks more like burger meat that's been shaped to resemble a boot. I really hope that I'm the only person in the world that's thinking about this right now, because otherwise, this generation is doomed. I absolutely adore this little expression from Squid when the customers are complaining to him. He looks so pitiful. I love Squid. It should be noted that Mr. Krabs here mentions that no one has taken a break at the Krusty Krab since the Great Chum Famine of '59, which, aside from being a messed up part of the Spongebob lore that I desperately want to know more about, it can also serve as a reference to the Great Chinese Famine, which also started in 1959 as a result of the Great Leap Forward. I knew I was going to be talking about Hiroshima with Dying for Pie, but I did not expect to be talking about Mao for Hooky. Krabs finds out that Pat and Sponge are playing on the hooks, and he goes to save them from the danger of Hooky. Notably in this frame, you can see what I think is a tear in the plastic cell paper used for the animation of non-background elements. Now, I really love this, not only because I love when you can see imperfections, but this is a reminder that this is something handmade, and the cell drawings are physical objects. Obviously, this is only good if it's non-intrusive. If there was a huge gash over SpongeBob's face for a whole scene, then we'd have a problem. Anyway, this entire sequence of Krabs lecturing Sponge and Pat on the dangers of hooks is great. First off, look at him about to slam into the rock. I love when characters are like mid-flight. It always makes for some really funny frames. And after the impact, I love the choice to make his eyes go all limp like noodles. Also, look at this weird drawing of Pat from behind. His mouth is still visible on the side of his face, even though he's facing the complete opposite direction. That's not how starfish anatomy works. Speaking of that, there's a few times in this episode where Pat gets these little caveman teeth. They're so weird and really make him look like a doofus. I also love when Krabs yells at him and his mouth goes into itself. And why wouldn't he? Mr. Krabs tells him that he's going to be turned into a can of tuna. Now, Krabs getting a hook up the ass is another opportunity to draw him with those big old inflated eye tubes, and he looks adorable. This in-between though, because of his mouth shape, kinda makes it look like he enjoys it. Someone buy me this animation cell. I love as well that they add some of those classic colorful stars to show the impact of him getting hooked in the bum. Really nice color choices, and I love how they have that little glow effect to them. All in all, just a very fun sequence. The next day, Sponge is off to work, and I really love how Patrick falls off of his rock with a content expression on his face. He doesn't even care about face planting.
Look, SpongeBob, are you gonna listen to a big dummy, or are you gonna listen to me?
Sponge says that he won't go on any more hooks, but he's suddenly face to face with one. A particularly desirable hook, as it glistens a little. We then get a frankly disgusting in-between frame of Sponge, followed by a cheeky little smile as he weighs up his options. What a perfect drawing of Sponge. Such a mischievous little expression. Of course, Sponge, though he tries, can't resist the temptation of the hook, and he goes for a ride. I always loved how he slides across in midair towards the hook. Proper cartoon nonsense. But now, he's hooked! I think that Tom Kenny is particularly great when SpongeBob is shocked and scared. All of his gasps and screams just crack me up, and although Sponge definitely sounds a bit different in Season 1, maybe using a lower register, those sounds of shock and terror have always been so over the top and funny. I've always loved this shot of the tuna can opening to reveal Sponge crammed inside. I haven't even got anything to say about it, it's just funny to look at. I will never get enough of Sponge running to the Krusty Krabs, his arms flailing in horror at being hooked, and doing more silly screams. It's obviously quite a tragic situation for Sponge. Dangerous even. But Sponge is just such a funny little guy. Also, shouldn't we be able to see the chum bucket from here? It should be opposite the Krusty Krab, right? Nickelodeon, I order you to fire whoever made this mistake immediately. Hey look, it's Pearl, Mr. Krabs' whale daughter. It's a very inspired choice, isn't it? Like, it seems very normal now that we've been familiarized with the cast of SpongeBob for the past 25 years, but let's not ignore the fact that Mr. Krabs' daughter is a whale. Anyway, Pearl is hanging out with some friends. Most of these are pretty common background incidental fish, except for this one. Not only is her sole appearance in this episode, but we don't even know her incidental number. Truly an odd duck. I don't really like her design. Something about the fish that have hairdos just, I don't know, it's kinda weird. In fact, why does Pearl have hair? That's always confused the hell out of me. Who is Pearl's mother? Hold the phone, is that? Oh yeah, a slight tear in the cell animation paper? Yeah, you can't pull the wool over my eyes, United Plankton Pictures. I love this shot of Sponge with the hook in his pants, carefully hiding it from Krabs' view. With his arms drooping down, he just looks so defeated. Sponge's delivery here always makes me laugh. I can't take off my pants! Not in front of these girls! It's such a goofy line that I feel like you just wouldn't hear in even season 2. It's very antiquated. God, Sponge's face before stripping is very grim. He's saying a lot with that face. I always get a kick out of Sponge dropping to his knees in his underwear, begging Krabs not to make him get naked, because when he folds over, he unknowingly reveals his flat ass to Krabs. Krabs, upon seeing that Sponge won't strip, whips out the Help Wanted sign from the first episode of SpongeBob, Help Wanted. When I talked about this in Dying for Pie, I mentioned that it looks different in that episode compared to the pilot, and it's the same deal here, it's much more stylized than its first appearance. Seeing this causes SpongeBob's eyes to seep back into his head. It looks really gross, but take a look at the storyboard drawing. This one is just creepy. The long continuous shot of Sponge being lifted off the ground, flailing his arms, desperately grabbing onto the flour, really sells how scared SpongeBob is. I will admit, when I first watched this episode as a kid, I was pretty concerned to say the least. I found it quite unsettling. Obviously, once you've seen the ending, you know that this situation is pure comedy, but on my first viewing, I remember feeling really bad for Sponge, and kinda betrayed by Mr. Krabs. Sponge gets pulled up further, and is seen hanging for dear life on the Krusty Krab sign. And here we get my favorite frame of the episode. It's this one of Sponge at the perfect moment where his underwear is torn to shreds by the pull of the hook. Something about his expression at this instant makes me laugh so much. His little mouth is like, what? The whole situation being shown in this drawing is just bizarre. And with or without context, it makes me chuckle. I know I've singled out a couple animation cells in this episode, but this is the one that would be the centerpiece of my home. Here's a character sheet for Naked SpongeBob. God, someone got paid to draw this, you know? Sometimes good things do happen in this godforsaken world. Luckily, Sponge is now safe from the hook, and I love this little smile that he reverts to when he realizes he's in the clear. There's something almost smug about it. I don't know, you just rarely see this kind of smile from Sponge, one where his big teeth aren't poking out. It's nice. Of course, the Krusty Krab sign quickly flings SpongeBob back in the opposite direction, and that is the perfect opportunity for some big old smear frames. I love this one of loads of sets of Sponge's eyeballs flying through the air, and especially this one, which looks very odd. There's something oddly stylized about how Sponge looks here. It's quite like this one from much earlier in the episode, when Sponge and Pat go up on the hook. It's the kind of smear that's not just the object repeated multiple times, it's more about distorting what's already there, and the results are usually longer, bigger, and stranger. We now get some great drawings of naked SpongeBob. First off, look at how much he enlarges once splatting across the Krusty Krab's front door. It's like what I was saying earlier when he's very malleable and can change shape. Anyways, here's a feel-good frame. Everybody laughing at Sponge's penis. Obviously, it's obscured, the cowards, but this is exactly what I was talking about at the start with Incidental 40. Why is this embarrassing, but this isn't? What are the rules? Oh yeah, and it was Squid the whole time with the hook. He's not really in this episode too much, but it is nice that he gets this moment, because Sponge did kind of take advantage of him earlier. I'm happy for Squid. Spongebob is not a kid. He's got a job. He's a homeowner. Steven Hillenburg actually had to fight for Spongebob to remain an adult character when Nickelodeon said that they'd only greenlight the show if Sponge was a child. And even though this absolutely was the right call, I think what's great about Spongebob is that he can still be put into story structures that were generally reserved for children, goofing off and not listening to an authority figure only to get in trouble and need that authority figure to bail you out. That's the kind of nonsense that Bart is getting up to. Sponge may live an adult life, but he is a kid at heart, and I've always loved that about him. I mean, the Spongebob movie is almost entirely centered around this idea. Anyway, Patrick dies.